Why, hello, my friends in the film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching. Thank you for giving us just a little bit of your time. And boy, we've all had a little while to watch this movie, to digest it, and to figure out exactly what we think of it. And my simple thoughts are this: it wasn't nearly as bad as the trailer. I'm glad that it wasn't all that bad. But I figured we'd give it its due. We'd give it a breakdown because I figured it was only fair. We try to do this for a lot of the movies that we watch, and I figured I've got a Tuesday night or a Monday night to kill. So I am joined today by the Dowager Countess Lady Cora. How are you tonight, ma'am?
Things are all right. Things are good.
It's always good when things are good. And of course, to the shape from the Lone Star State, one of our many horror experts in this film community. That is my man Tex. What's going on, brother?
Howdy, people. Happy Munsters Day. I mean, Monday. And yeah, I'm ready to digest and enjoy this film a little bit more. I've watched it maybe 3 or 4 times by now. So, yeah, I'm all ready.
Yeah, it's been out for about a week now? Something like that?
Yeah.
Dropped last Tuesday, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. So it's been out for about a week. We've all had, most of us hopefully have had a chance to watch it. Hopefully, if you're watching us now, you've had a chance to watch it, because this is, as the title card, the thumbnail suggests, this is a spoiler review. We do a lot of spoiler stuff on this channel. So hopefully you've had a chance to watch it. But we're here, of course, to talk about The Munsters. It is a 2022 American comedy film, produced, written, and directed by the great Rob Zombie, the great musician. It's based, of course, in the 1960s family sitcom of the same title. The story takes place actually prior to the events of the series, making it a bit of a prequel, and it serves as an origin story for the characters. The film stars Jeff Daniel Phillips, Sherry Moon Zombie, and Daniel Roebuck as the titular family, with Sylvester McCoy as Igor and Richard Brake as Dr. Henry Augustus Wolfgang. The basic plot is this: mad scientist Dr. Henry Augustus Wolfgang and his hunchback assistant Floop, which is one of the great names in all of movies, they rob graves for body parts to build an experimental creation. And Floop accidentally steals the brain of a hacky comedian instead of his smarter brother, who he was supposed to steal. This, of course, ends up in the body of who we would come to know as Herman, who we find out in this movie got his last name from the cheese, which kind of, whatever. We'll talk about that gag here in a minute. Yeah.
By the way,
we'll talk about that gag here in a second. But yeah, so and then, of course, and then after that, we're introduced, of course, to Lily, the daughter of Frankenstein, or he's not called Grandpa Munster at all in this series. He's just what is his actual?
Well,
you actually give him a name. He's the Count Ezra Morsher. No, yeah. He's just the Count. That's all he's referred to as the Count. So he's not called Grandpa Munster, but Grandpa Munster, who is trying to find a suitable husband for his daughter Lily, goes through a bunch of different stuff, a lot of dating, and then she ends up falling in love with Herman Munster. They end up getting married, and their life begins. And that's pretty much kind of the plot of the whole story. Basically, this movie kind of ends where we would, just before where we would see the TV show kind of start from back in the 60s. They're starting their life in here in the United States, here in America. It looked like Southern California.
It was Hollywood.
Yeah, they've got the old decrepit, scary looking house, the only house in the nice block in suburbia that doesn't fit in with the rest, of course, as per the Munsters. And that's kind of where the movie ends, is where roughly the 60s TV show begins. Now, I gotta say, this trailer came out, and if there was a word that could describe being less impressed than any other less impressed thing I have ever been, it would probably be this trailer. The trailer looked like some 90s TV movie hackery, and I was very disappointed. But I will say, the movie was an okay watch. It wasn't what I wanted. I expected Rob Zombie to be a bit more Rob Zombie about this, maybe give it some darker elements, but still kind of be at its core that comedy just surrounding these monsters from the monster universe. But it really was just a long episode. And again, not necessarily a bad thing. It was an enjoyable film. But was I running back to see it for a second or third showing? Not really. I mean, I thought it was okay. Cora,
would you have paid to see this in the theaters?
I probably would have, out of curiosity. Would I have run back to theaters for a second or third viewing? No. Probably not. I would have waited until streaming. But we'll start with you, Lady Cora. What did you think about the basic plot of the show? Some of the things, or plot of the movie, rather. Some of the things that kind of happened, and kind of how it pushed forward to what we would eventually see in the 60s
I'll
TV
say
series.
this. because it'll be less appropriate for you men to say this, I will say it's fucking awesome. They didn't SJW this and showed a woman falling in love with a guy on television, stalking him, chasing him down, and literally, you know, like throwing herself at him in modern times. So that shit does happen, and they don't usually put it in movies or TV shows. And, you know, I'm glad they didn't SJW that shit. You know, like she's like, I want him. Like she's ordering a fucking purse. You know, chases him down, and yeah, he's down for it. But you know, it was very entertaining to me that they didn't, you know, just make it all about him. You know, it might have been about female empowerment. I don't know, but I thought it was fantastically entertaining that they showed how women can do the same things that they complain about men doing. So I love that part of it. I liked the brother. I loved all the bits with
Lester.
who was after the brothers, you know, like, you better give me that, you know, like there's this mob aspect to it, and you're like, I didn't know you own this club. I know. You know, and it's just like, and you know, at the very end, you know, how he comes back and gives him all that money, you know, because he hit it big in Vegas and you didn't think he would, you know, you assume he's going to go blow it all and lose it. And he actually honors his family, which was pretty fucking cool. So, you know, there were little subtle aspects that were cool. I didn't like it all that much, but there were things I liked about it. Visually, it was wonderful. Like the lighting, the coloring, it was very nicely done. The pacing of it was good. I hated the dorky, silly, like soundtrack behind it all. But overall, I'm glad I watched it. But I probably, like you said, wouldn't watch it again.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the soundtrack. The music was one of the things about the film that kind of stood out to me as one of the positives. That's just me, though. I'll get into my stuff here in a minute. Tex, you were the one that was looking forward to this the most. You were the one that was screaming at the heavens that this trailer was awesome, and that you thought this was going to be the next Dr. Zhivago, the next whatever, the next great American film. I don't know. What did you think, just like of the movie from start to finish, just overall, the plot, the
Well, they erect a statue of this movie poster in Texas.
If they do, I will happily donate my money towards the cause and go to the ribbon cutting. But no, I love this film. This movie was exactly what I wanted it to be. Rob Zombie is my favorite filmmaker. Halloween, Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses. I love all of his films, and he's always been a Munsters fan. Even like I forget what year it was, but he even did his own version of the Munsters theme on an album, I believe. I know it's on YouTube. I don't know if it made it to an album or not, but this was like a passion project for him. And when word came out that he was going to make this movie, I couldn't have been any happier. And obviously, you know, anybody who's seen a Rob Zombie film knows he has a certain core of actors that he likes to go from his wife Sherry Moon Zombie, Jeff Daniel Phillips, who plays Herman. You have Daniel Roebuck, who's been in a number of his films. Richard Brake, another one who played Dr. Wolfgang, as you mentioned. All of these are veterans of zombie films. So when they were casting the roles, the only one that I thought all of them did well except for Sherry Moon Zombie. I love Sherry Moon Zombie. She's one of my horror crushes of all time. But she can only really play like that tacky, kind of white trashy type role. Her as Lily, that was my one drawback of the film. I thought everyone else was perfectly cast. Roebuck as Grandpa, or the Count, you know, soon to be Grandpa Munster. He was the star of this film for me. He was as close to the original casting as I think you could get. And you had Jeff Daniel Phillips there as Herman, who I love the corny dad jokes that he had. I laughed every time, and I watched it with my kid, and she rolled her eyes and thought it was stupid and corny, which is kind of the point. This is a 60s TV show. But to get further into the cast here, we had a couple legacy roles. You had Butch Patrick, who was the original Eddie Munster, as the Tin Can Man, the one that marries Herman and Lily. And you had Pat Priest. her role was Transylvania. I don't remember. I couldn't place her. That was the one that I couldn't see.
She was as they were flying to LA towards the end of the movie, the announcer on the Transylvania Airlines, the AP addresser. She's not. You don't see her in the film. It's a voiceover.
Okay. Oh, that's what I thought, because I kept looking for her because I knew she was in the movie, but I never saw Pat Breach. I'm like, I know she's here. But then we had Dee Wallace, who's for anybody who's a big horror fan, she's a classic actor from the 80s who did tons of horror. I mean, her list is limitless. And then a lost casting, the guy who played Floop, Jorge Garcia, the heavier set dude that helped out Dr. Wolfgang. I thought he was funny in the film too, especially when he was wearing like the glittery all suit when Herman's famous singer and whatever. But I thought the casting was well. Obviously the overall film was, to me, it was a mix of the Munsters and Creepshow. And I don't know if y'all have ever seen Creepshow or not from the 80s, or even the new show on Shudder. But when they do like a character silhouette, like you see me sitting here right now, and then there's like some crazy design on the wall, like a neon green and purple circles or whatever. That's something right out of a Creepshow film. I thought that was very well done in the way they did that. And to kind of address what Cora said there, the colors of the film, the first 3/4 of this film are absolutely gorgeous. When they're in Transylvania, when little Lily's going on a date with Nosferatu, and you've got Gilman showing up, just a lot of cool stuff in this film to break down. I loved it. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I dig one of the things that I did like about the plot from the very beginning is that it was going to be kind of a origin story for the Lovebirds, and I was like, that's an interesting take. It's because it would have been too easy just for him to say, okay, I'm going to go just start from episode 1 and kind of make my own movie about the Munsters as we've always seen them. But going back a little farther, making this a bit of a prequel, I actually thought was a pretty good idea. I thought that was a way to keep it original, but still kind of play around in the sandbox that we already know that is the Munsters. So that was a good idea ultimately, and I think it worked out pretty well. I liked watching their love blossom, because let's face it, we all seek to be in a marriage like Lily and Herman. You know what I mean? As weird as they are, as crazy as they are, as zany as they are, they're kind of perfectly crafted for one another. But to me, look, I'll go with what I liked first. For one, did you say you didn't like Sherry Moon Zombie in the role?
I thought she was weak as Lily. To me, it fit for what it was, but obviously, anybody who's seen a zombie film knows he always cast his wife in the lead role, and that's kind of the detriment of a lot of his movies. And if it's not like the role that she played in House of a Thousand Corpses, in that trilogy of films, she's not as strong. I would have rather seen somebody else as Lily, but to me, she was the weakest link out of all of them for me, anyways.
You see, to me,
I've never seen her in anything, but I didn't think. It's almost like she was like 3/4 of the way there.
Well,
and it felt like she was still rehearsing.
She's mostly in Rob Zombie movies, and you probably aren't his target demographic.
I've never seen.
Cora would hate
Rob Zombie experience.
You may have gotten a kick out of this movie for as kind of goofy as it was. It's not a spoof exactly, but it's kind of like that. But his other movies are very, very edgy, very murder, very bloody. They're not your kind of horror. I mean, horror comedy. He doesn't make your
Kill
kind
Bill's
of
kind of my limit with gore.
Yeah. But dude, I thought she was one of the strongest things about this movie. Because it would have been very easy to go in there and just like been a caricature of Lily from the original show.
Right.
But I think she did kind of make it hers enough to where it was a different take without her trying to go to some weird length to kind of make it too different. I actually thought she was quite enjoyable in this film. I haven't seen all of Rob Zombie's films. I've seen her in other films, and I don't think she was ever really like the lead actress in any of the films. Was she?
She's only ever been in his films. She's never cast in anything else. Yeah.
But I thought she was quite enjoyable. I mean, it was obviously this was something she just had a lot of fun with. Maybe it came naturally to her. I mean, she's married to Rob Zombie after all. But and like Cora said earlier, I really enjoyed kind of the music. It had kind of this. I was thinking about like the Monkees vibe, or maybe something Brady Bunchish. It comes from the same era of television.
The Monkees,
late
the TV
60s.
show The Monkees is very much like that, with the sound effects when things are happening.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I actually really like that. I really like that. I like the color tone of the film.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
I was talking to Nick from Lost River Drive-In the other day, and we were talking about this movie, and I was kind of questioning. I was like, why would you pay to go shoot on location in Bavaria and build all these sets? You could have just done it on a soundstage. But because it all looked like a soundstage. I mean, none of this stuff looked like it was shot on location. But I mean, but just the way it was put together, I like the color tones, because there was this 60s kind of aesthetic to it with some of the like the darker colors with the pastel lights that were always going on somewhere, the neons and things like that. I thought those were two kind of interesting contrasts in color tones that kind of made it look a bit more goofy. It made it look like more of a Munsters episode, which was enjoyable for me. Cora also talked about the pacing of the film. I thought the film, from a filmmaking perspective, I thought he did keep a good pace throughout the film.
I agree.
There wasn't really a lot of dead space in this film. And some films, it's designed to be in there to kind of set the stage for what's coming next. But it's like he seemed to find a good rhythm early in this movie and just kind of kept it going right through.
And the transitions were good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of dead space in this film. It was a steady, constant beat that I really appreciated, because it helped keep me in the movie. It was like, okay, the next funny thing happens, the next funny thing happens, the next funny thing happens, and it kind of kept me in the movie. It was a steady burn, not a slow burn. It was a steady burn, and I think that made me enjoy the movie. I don't know how to feel about the one particular thing though, and I said it already. It was a long episode. And I was now this kind of leads me to a couple of things that bother me about the movie. Number one, I was hoping for a bit more Rob Zombie in this. I was hoping he would go a bit, that there would be a few darker moments. Like maybe dare I say, maybe even a little bit more blood and guts. Not necessarily
I prepared myself for that. And there was nothing. And I was like, I literally, at the end of it, I'm like, oh, maybe Rob Zombie's not that scary.
But even the stylized kind of stuff, like somebody get their head lopped off, but the head is still talking to somebody, like, oh, really? What are you gonna do now? Kind of like something goofy like that. I expected there to be a bit more of that, but it just wasn't. And again, it didn't make the film work less for me. I think he could have been Rob Zombie as a director a little bit more in this film.
Do you think Disney Plus reined him in?
That's what the thing is Rob Zombie has very much been typecast as what he is. I mean, all of his films emulate that 70s grindhouse drive-in style of movie, Texas Chainsaw, that whole generation of films. That's why he makes the movies that he does, and he always gets chastised for it, that he can only make one kind of movie. So when word came out that he was going to make Munsters, that's what everybody, oh God, Herman's going to say, all kinds of filthy language, and somebody's going to rape somebody and kill somebody or whatever. So I think a lot of this was Rob proving, oh, you think that's the only thing that I can do? Well, let me show you. So he took a late 60s product and made a new version of it for what we saw. And like when in our group chats there, that's why I said, when you watch this film, keep the old show in mind and you'll love it, because that's exactly what it is. It's just an hour and 40-minute version of the Munsters,
Yeah, the other thing, it kind of stuck out to me, and this is a big missed opportunity for me. Maybe it's because I'm one of the generation that actually got to enjoy Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, in all of her glory.
Oh, God,
but
bless
you. You've got Cassandra Peterson in this movie. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I didn't enjoy her being in the movie, but it was such a missed opportunity, a fun throwback to the days of yore when Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, was on everybody's TV screens. And and I knew who she was as soon as she comes on screen. She's the real estate agent,
the realtor,
in the third act that is trying to sell them the house. But when she said, and I swear to God, my heart started to beat a little faster when she said this. When she said, "Don't be surprised when you see me, because I'm going to a Halloween party."
I wanted the same thing.
I was thinking to myself, please tell me she's in that long, slender, low-cut dress.
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
And she rolls out as Elvira. That would have been perfect. And when she enters the door as that witch, the green paint, I was like, oh, really? Why you gotta tease me like that? That would have been a great throwback, not to anything Munsters, but I mean, because me being the age group that I'm in, I have a hard time thinking of anything Halloween without automatically going back to Elvira or, Tales from the Crypt or stuff like that. Yep. All the great stuff from the 70s and 80s that I enjoyed as a kid. it's like, why wouldn't you have had her in there? I mean, because I don't think she's done the Elvira character in quite some time since.
No, she did it last year.
Oh,
she did it. Yeah, on Shudder, the streaming app that AMC produces.
She did have a show. Okay.
She did a 40th anniversary. Like, she did 3 or 4 movies that she presented. Elvira's movie Macabre. She brought it out, and she's been on TV even in the last decade. Like, some of the older episodes, they got put into syndication or whatever. It was on like those high-ranking channels on regular TV, like the channels that play the old TV shows and movies and stuff. So she's slowed down doing it, but she still does the role. So yeah.
Yeah, I that would have been a fantastic moment to roll her out there for the audience, just like anything Halloween, anything scary, and and the Elvira character kind of fits into the Munsters world perfectly anyway.
I think she owns the rights to that character too. I know back in the day, she got sued. Cassandra Peterson got sued by the woman that played Vampira, that came up before her. But it was different enough that Cassandra Peterson won the case. So I believe she owns the copyright to all of that. I don't know why they didn't use it. Maybe it was a contractual thing. I don't know, but missed opportunity for sure.
It could have been. Maybe just creatively, he was like, I don't want to take the attention off the Munsters by having Elvira show up on screen. Because...
Well, even if they didn't want to do Elvira, they could have had her in a similar dress and be like, she could have been like, oh, I look ridiculous in this. I would never wear that. And something like that would have fit in a Munsters themed movie or TV show. The little, tip of the cap to it or whatever.
Or for before her date, her trying on outfits in front of a mirror and putting it on.
Right. Yeah,
and they go,
just one scene of it. Yeah, she puts it on. I look ridiculous. I never. Right. Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I thought that was a big time missed opportunity because that could have been a lot of fun. That would have been one of those moments where the entire crowd would have kind of like not stood up and cheered, but been like, "Hell yeah, Elvira!" Woohoo!
Right.
Yeah. So a bit of a missed opportunity on in my opinion, but I mean. It's always great just to have Cassandra Peterson on screen because I mean she's
great. Yeah,
I think she's been through some health scares over the years and stuff like that. So
she's had health scares, and she recently came out with a book where she finally came out as a gay woman too. Her biography came out, I want to say early this year or late last year, one of the two, and she's been in the news recently. So yeah, she's her name still pops up now and then. But of course, at Halloween time, Elvira always gets mentioned.
Oh yeah, Elvira is one of those characters that kind of stands the test of time. It's like there's still people that will dress as Elvira for Halloween, but yeah, I mean overall, I mean like I said, I stick to my guns. The trailer was awful. It did not do anything for this movie. But the movie was fun. I mean, I could if my kids wanted to sit and watch it, I could sit and watch it with them. It is one of those interesting movies. It's got those multiple levels of humor. So like the kids will get the goofiness and the crazy sound effects as Herman's getting ready to fall down, the wah 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 bam, and then he falls. But at the same time, there's those double entendres that only grown-ups will get. There's other little things. I mean, it is kind of like Toy Story. It plays to a couple different generations and it plays it well. So it was not thank God it was not the movie I thought I was going to be getting from the trailers.
Now I'm dying to know what were you expecting to get? Like what were your thoughts going into that?
I honestly after that trailer I was like, good God, this movie is going to be a hot mess. And part of me was thinking, I was like, look, this is if Rob Zombie is actually trying to do a comedy, that if this is going to be his first shot, okay, good thing going with the Munsters because it's a comedy property. It's one that he likes. Even if he fucks it up, he's not going to fuck it up so bad. But after seeing that trailer, I was like, God, this just looks awful. I mean, because honestly, some of the scenes that are in the trailer that I actually like in the movie, they do nothing in the trailer. They just don't look right. Maybe it's because they're in the proper context in the film. So maybe it's just the fact that I'm seeing them in trailer form. But I was like, there was just nothing about that movie that looked good. I mean, and honestly, even watching the movie, it still does look like. I mean, just the filming style is something straight out of like '90s made for TV.
Right.
But I think it's the creative vision that does actually win the day in this film, which is okay. It kind of saves it all for me because I still say the trailer was horrible. But the film had enough bright spots to where I was like, okay, as a whole, I can look at this and say it was okay. It wasn't bad.
Well, I mean, for me, the best part of the movie was the courting between Herman and Lily. Like that week in the movie where they're dating, it's like the kind of the montage scene where you see them, you know. Well, I mean, for one, I mean, the scene where they're singing "I Got You, Babe" by Sonny and Cher.
Hmm.
If you don't laugh at that, come on, that was just stupid, silly humor. That I mean, even my kid liked that part, and it was just all the different outfits and them riding in the little car when Herman's wearing like the prison football uniform, like from back in the day, like all of the things from that scene, from
Even
that
the
part of the
proposal
movie.
scene was so adorable. Like
Yeah,
on the
even the
beach.
proposal scene, I mean, like that little montage scene there in the middle of the film was so much fun. I mean, it's the colors, it had a light tone to it, which I don't watch a lot of stuff with light tones, but I loved every minute of this. This was, I mean, it's so odd for me to say this, but Rob Zombie made a wholesome film. I never thought I would ever say that in my life. And for him to do it as well as I think that he did, I would love to see him get a second swing at this. And hey, if it's on Netflix, maybe even a 8 to 10 episode season
That'd
of
be
it or
cool.
something.
Well,
I'd love it.
it's funny you say that because I was reading just before we went live that Netflix has not closed the door to doing a
Oh,
sequel.
there you go.
Because
love that.
think about it, we did not get. I mean, what did we not get? Who did we not
These
get in
children.
the movie? Rather,
We didn't get Eddie and
We
their
didn't
niece
get Eddie.
Marilyn. Yeah.
We didn't
No.
get so we didn't get those characters. So maybe there's room for a sequel where we could actually explore them having a baby, the baby Eddie, and
Right.
stuff like that. So there's opportunities.
Maybe they do
there.
like explore like a love story for Grandpa. Like that'd be hilarious.
Could
Like
be. I mean,
him on a
there's-
dating app. Like,
See, well, obviously, there's Eddie and Marilyn to bring in, but something I would love to see is how do they get the vehicles? You get the
Oh.
Munsters mobile, and then you
Yes.
get Grandpa. And then I need to see how this version of the Munsters get Grandpa's drag racer. That's just the coffin with a motor attached to it. I need to see that as well. There's a lot left to this story that I would love to see told through a series or a follow-up film or whatever. I mean, I'm down for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against seeing a sequel. I mean, something that leads up to the exact point where we find them in like the first episode of the 60s TV series.
Right.
I don't really want to see them remake the 60s TV series, but kind of like
I'm afraid that's what they would do.
I mean, if they did it in film form, probably not. I could see like in the first act them finding out that she's pregnant, and then the second act she has the baby, and then the third act we see maybe not Eddie Munster get to the point where he's like 9, 10, 11 years old like we would in the series,
Mhm.
but just to see him go through like the first couple of years, the zany things that a young child of Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein would do. I mean, it's like things like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, one thing, and I mean, one thing that I did was one of the times that I watched the film, I turned my TV to black and white because I wanted to see if it hit any differently. And I implore everybody to go watch this movie with black and white. Mess with the color ratio, whatever you got to do. But watch this as if it was the old show, and it hits even better, I think. As beautiful as the colors and everything else are, when it's in that black and white format, it changes it a lot. And it's worth watching for. So, I mean, for a Halloween watch, if you've got a Halloween party or, you want to celebrate with, Halloween's on a Monday this year. So, a good Halloween night, watch the Munsters in black and white. So do something like that. I would, suggest.
I may have to do that.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of trivia items that I've brought up from IMDb that are kind of interesting, and something I didn't notice. And Tex, I don't know if your eye caught this or not. The trailer is actually a shot-for-shot remake of the Munsters title sequence from the original 60s TV show. I didn't catch that the first time I watched it.
Yeah. No, are you talking about where they're all coming out the front door or whatever?
Well, like apparently the entire trailer is like a shot-for-shot remake.
Oh, well,
If you believe what I'm reading on IMDb, and IMDb's been wrong before, but I mean, now that I think about it, it's possible.
That would make sense. I mean, obviously, that first teaser that they came out with all of them, bursting through the door in their comedic ways, that was just shot right out of the trailer. But I didn't know the rest of it was. I'd have to go look that up. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Let's
I'll
see.
be dope.
The film, obviously, it's a prequel. We know that.
Right.
This is the first ever Munsters movie or show not to feature the character of Eddie Munster. Yeah,
That is
we talked
true.
about
Yes.
that. There was a callback to another famous TV show at the time when Herman Munster yells, "Car 54, where are you?" It's
Yeah,
a callback to
I
Fred
caught
Gwynne's
that.
original Herman Munster's TV show of the same name.
Yeah, whenever I was watching with my daughter, when Herman goes, "Car 54, where are you?" I laughed out loud. Like, my kid goes, "What? That wasn't funny." And then I went into nerd. Oh, well, I said exactly what you just did. Oh, Car 54 is an old cop show that, the guy that played original Herman and blah, blah, blah. So I got to kind of, impress my child a little bit. So it was fun.
Yeah, I'm going through some of this stuff. Let's see. The French version of Woody Woodpecker, which is the cartoon they're watching when they're on their honeymoon,
Well,
called
yeah,
Andrew's Panic.
That's one thing about this movie that I really liked. And apparently it was impressive enough that people wanted the soundtrack. Zombo, that kind of clown, weird looking dude who had the long hair that was on the black and white TV within the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy the album that song plays. Like, you can go buy that right now. Like, and they've made Zombo action figures too, made by NECA, as merchandising stuff for this film. But the world felt like, especially when you're in Transylvania, it was like old world Gothic meets a Hot Topic. It's kind of cool how they did it with all the neon and it looks like it's in Nosferatu's castle and everything else. And I mean, Nosferatu and there himself, but just the whole feel of it. It feels like I wanted to stay in Transylvania. I didn't want them to go to California. Obviously, I knew that they would, but I want more in that part of the world. And when I heard Cassandra Peterson was going to be cast, I hope she was going to play somebody in that portion, because I would have loved to have seen more of her in this movie. Because I mean, she was in maybe 5 minutes of the film. She's barely in it, hardly at all.
Yeah, she's only really in the movie late in the third act.
Right. Like, the only times you see her is when they're on the phone. Oh, we're coming to America. And then, and then of course they come on Halloween Day. And so, the Munsters think they're traveling with a witch, but, it was a fun, it's a fun movie. It's a lighthearted film. It's something you can show your kids without worrying, and you can enjoy it too. It's for me, it's a must watch. I can't praise this enough. I love it.
Yeah, what was the other piece? Let's see. This is actually Rob Zombie's first movie not to be rated R, which is
true.
It makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think he could have gone R with this and still maintain the comedic atmosphere of the Munsters.
It would be hard. I mean, unless you're going to have like Herman Munster stomp somebody to death or rip their head off, whatever. I don't know what, I'm sure he could have made a rated R version of it, but it wouldn't have been Munsters if it was. I mean,
I feel like at one point he was probably like, how can I spice this up a little bit with a little gore, make it a little more Rob Zombie? But he probably was like, I think I'll just go ahead and just let it be the Munsters. You know what I mean? I don't have to make it what it isn't.
I do hope this leads to more mainstream work for Rob, because the last mainstream thing that he did was freaking Halloween 2, and he hated the studio, like the pressure and the constant being told what to do. Most of his films have been either crowdfunded or independent projects, and he's got this stigma about him of, oh, well, he's just a trashy horror filmmaker, blah, 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 blah. I would love to see his take on a bunch of other properties, because he's a quality filmmaker. He does need help with scripts, though. A lot of his films, and I'm one of the biggest zombie fans you're going to find, he needs help with the script writing. He kind of pigeonholes himself a lot of times. If he could get a good screenwriter in there, his visual directing is immaculate. I have no issues with it.
There were a couple pieces of dialogue that I was like, really?
Yeah.
That's what you're giving me right now?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He's never been known for, a great screenplay or a great dialogue between characters, but yeah.
Yeah, like the whole line from the trailer where she's like wanting to find somebody like driving a stake through her cold black heart or something like that. I was like, it's like it fits the character, it fits the world, but it's a bit too on the nose. I've always felt that piece of like dialogue like that should have been way more subtle.
Right.
Because I didn't necessarily mind the way she delivered it, but the dialogue itself, I was just kind of like, I don't know. It seems a little. It's like you're going for the camp. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I thought it was funny, like when they decide to move to America, and like Herman was born like a week ago, but he falls in love with Lily. They get married, and now instead of Rich Count, aka Grandpa, Herman is just now deciding everything for Grandpa, even though he was born 8 days ago. I kind of found how they kind of played that for a comedic aspect, and he's like, "Oh, well, you can come, but Igor's got to stay here." So he turns Igor into the bat that he wears on his hat when he's going on the airplane to fly over here. So he still has Igor too. So it's just a lot of nods of stuff. Obviously seeing Gilman, Nosferatu, Wolfman werewolves are my favorite monster, so I like seeing Lester in there. And it's a fun movie that if you're a classic Universal Monsters horror fan, you're going to get a lot out of this movie. And obviously Munsters provides that.
Yeah, there are a lot of like cameos from all kinds of other monster things that are going on. But also there is a mention of Bella. The character Bella is actually a nod to Bela Lugosi, of course, who also played a gypsy named Bella in the 1941 film The Wolfman. Bela Lugosi, obviously most famous for his portrayal of some of the monsters back from the 30s all the way up through the 50s.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, a little bit of a shout out to him as well.
Well, that's the whole thing is with this was and obviously there's a story we'll be talking about on Thursday that kind of ties to a classic monster. So y'all stay tuned and make sure you're here Thursday for that. But it seems like we're getting to a place in horror where they're going back to a lot of the originals and what the characters that came before the ones that we know now. And I'm very happy to see that because, I mean, I don't want this genre to die. I don't want the monsters to go away. There's a lot we can enjoy, learn from, and just have fun with these characters. And, you know, it's very genre specific, obviously, but you know what? It's a lot of fun too. So it's just, I hope everybody goes and watches this. I hope it's huge on Netflix and we do get a sequel or a whatever we get from it. But there's no way that Netflix would be stupid to not do something with this property.
You know, we did talk a lot about the budget for this movie and what it actually was. There was a lot of rumors that it was like a whole bunch of money, and that was when
that was
I'm curious if they'll make a lot of money on it or not.
Well, the budget for this movie, according to Wikipedia, and again, this is Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt, was $5 million. That's what they've got listed as being the budget for this film. That sounds about right. I mean, yeah. But the thing, like, Netflix won't actually make. Well, I mean, maybe they kind of will now because they have the ad-supported tiers. But Netflix won't. They don't generally make money on any of their movies. They spend the money making them, and they put them out there, and the people that are watching are generally people that already subscribe to the service. So that's not what it's. And I don't. If things like Red Notice, who had 3 hugely bankable stars in it, didn't draw them 1 million subscribers, then I don't think the Munsters is going to do that either.
No, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, you've got to already be a fan of the Munsters, I think, to go watch this. I think it's one of those kind of things. Yeah, but honestly, I feel like they probably should have went ahead and released this theatrically. If not, I'd love to. Well, they're actually well, I'm sorry, it is also available on secondary media, so it's on Blu-ray, DVD, and stuff like that. So they're probably making a few bucks off. Well, Netflix doesn't. Technically, this is a Universal product. I don't know if they'd see any money from the physical release of this. True. I mean, that would probably go to NBC Universal, not Netflix. I think Netflix would only get streaming rights for it or whatever. True. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure either. But and I don't know if Netflix put up any money for their production either. So, well, see, they may or may not have. I don't know. like after the trailer came out, there was a lot of back and forth of, I mean, we even talked about it on this show about how the budget was $40 million, and Rob came out on multiple platforms and like, you people are crazy. All of my movies put together didn't add up to $40 million for budget cost. So, you know, and he didn't say the official amount at that time, but I know they built at least the shell of the house over there in Bulgaria or wherever they filmed it. I guess they got tax breaks to do it over there. They probably got a huge chunk of change from that or whatever, I would imagine. But there's a lot of, you know, flying everybody over in the house. And I mean, the costume budget on this thing was probably massive. I mean, just imagine having to do Herman's costumes. I mean, that's got to be pricey, I would think. But, you know, $5 million, you know, I'm sure they'll make that back by the physical release. And then, like I said, they've got the Zombo action figure. You can buy the soundtrack. You can buy the Zombo record that has his theme on it. They've done T-shirts and stuff for it and everything else. So they'll make their money back already. But you know, they'll do okay with it. I'm sure. What Netflix gets out of it, I don't know, but they'll get people watching it on Halloween at least.
Yeah, and they released it at the right time of year too. I mean, that's
oh yeah.
I mean, and on top of that, if you think about it, one of the things that could help drive people to Netflix to see this movie is we've also had Hocus Pocus 2 just come out in the last week or so. So
wasn't that on Disney though?
Yeah, but if there's going to be this run towards that family fare, because there's always one or two movies that come out every Halloween that are very family oriented, and so this year it feels like those two movies are going to be Hocus Pocus 2 and the Munsters. So that's quality family programming to have come out at this time of year. So that could drive a lot of eyeballs to Netflix and drive them with a lot of viewership. They don't release their viewership numbers generally. They very rarely ever release their viewership numbers. But I've read that the viewership was actually pretty solid for this movie so far. So
I know when it premiered, Jeff Daniel Phillips, Herman Munster, I follow him on Twitter. I think they opened it trending at number 5 on the Netflix app or something for like that week or whatever. So I mean, that's a pretty good for what it is. You know, I don't know how many new movies that come out and trend number 1 immediately, but I believe it was 5, maybe it was even 6. I'm not for sure. But it did well, and like once it came out, a lot of people I think this movie changed a lot of people's minds on Rob Zombie. Now, I've watched some other reviewers cover this film, and Rob Zombie is a very polarizing guy because he makes his movies for himself, and he doesn't really care if you like it or not. And that's one of the things I like about him the most is he doesn't fit anybody's mold. And I hope this changes a lot of people's minds about his stuff because the dude's a talented artist, and I'm afraid he's going to be one of those people that's not appreciated until his time is done. But we'll see.
Well, that's the thing about legacy, though, is that usually you don't get a legacy set till you've already shuffled loose the mortal coil. So, I mean, if his legacy is going to be, you know, look, he's already a pretty celebrated musician. So I mean, it's not like
100%.
It's not like the guy's legacy is hurting from that alone. But I mean,
of course.
But and you know, some people I know the Halloween movies have been a bit divisive.
Oh, they're my favorites. I love it.
Amongst the horror community, anyway, they've been pretty divisive. And as other films, people have, I don't know, it seems like they will love one and not so much the next. It seems really odd. I don't understand why, because I mean, it's not like his directorial style changes from one film to the next. He's pretty much making just a blood and guts horror movie.
Well, when you watch the Devil's Rejects trilogy, you've got House of a Thousand Corpses, which they made that movie and then it got shelved for years. And then Rob bought it, and I think he sold it to Lionsgate. And that's when it finally got released. Then you had Devil's Rejects, which is arguably probably the most successful of all of his movies and the most celebrated. And then you had Three from Hell, which was a crowdfunded film. My favorite is still House of a Thousand Corpses. It's got a lot of similarities with this Munsters film. It's got the color, now it's a very different tone, and it's a traditional Rob Zombie film. But he has a style that works in this atmosphere. He has that retro feel that, I mean, if you've seen his music videos, you know what I'm talking about. He's very eccentric when it comes to his properties. So he plays to a certain kind of audience. So,
Yeah,
not everybody's taste.
Yeah, but that seems like a pretty good place to start wrapping things up. I don't know, Lady Cora, what do you think? Any final thoughts on the Munsters, which is showing now on Netflix?
I'm glad I saw it, and it really is nice to see varied Halloween content. So there's always something for someone. You may not like the dark stuff or the scary stuff, but this is campy and cute and something anybody could watch with their whole family. So, I like the variations of it. So.
Oh yeah.
Tex, we know you're a big fan of this movie. Give us some final thoughts as we start.
Final thoughts. Like I said, go watch the film. Watch it on Halloween night with your kids, your family. After you go trick or treating, try it out in black and white. Just give it a retro feel. For me, it's an 8. It's a solid 8 for me. I can't recommend it enough. It's a throwback to a different time in entertainment, not just horror. I mean, I'm not even sure you can call this a horror film. It's it's a Halloween film, if anything. But go watch it and show the kids something from yesteryear. Might spark their interest in some other Universal properties. So we need more Monsters, people. Come on, Universal.
We do. I really want Universal to get their Monster Universe together.
I do too. Please.
I think this would be a perfect time. I mean, look, if Disney in the end, Marvel have the superhero thing cornered,
right?
Then we need those monster movies back. I think that would be, if they could do those right, that would be a huge.
I need some more Wolfman and Frankenstein and Dracula and Creature from the Black Lagoon and all of these awesome films from back in the day.
And some of those movies, like the Bela Lugosi stuff, it's like some of those movies were like the biggest movies of their era.
Oh yeah.
So nowadays, with some of the acting talent we've got available, especially some of the younger people, and with the special effects that we can do now, both practical and computer stuff, it's like, why couldn't you make something spectacular? I mean, I know the Mummy was not the Mummy, but Mummy, whatever that.
The one with Tom Cruise, that was.
I know that didn't quite. That didn't quite.
It didn't hit.
It didn't touch people in that special spot.
Tom Cruise doesn't hit anything.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, Maverick just crossed.
That's different. I don't know. That's like the one thing I like about him.
If they're going to bring back Universal movies, they need to be on a lower budget. So when these movies aren't going to make $2 billion like an Avengers movie or something. It's a very selective audience. Make these for a smaller budget. So if they only make $20 million at the theater, you're still getting your money back and you can make another one. Well, these movies don't have to be huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the budgets don't have to be huge. I've been saying for a long time. Yeah. I've been saying for a long time that Hollywood needs to start getting some budgets in check.
Yes, 100%.
It's one thing if you're going for the balls with like an Avengers Endgame, but if you're just making one movie or something that you don't plan on having a big franchise of, I mean, keep those budgets down. I mean, for one, it'll help you stay profitable, and for two, it might help the movie a little bit, because sometimes you can overspend on a movie, and it really affects the quality. But as far as I'm concerned, like I said, the trailer didn't do any good for me at all. I was really worried coming into the movie that it was just going to be just a train wreck, but it was fun. I mean, I'll probably watch it again at some point over this Halloween season. I wouldn't mind sitting and watching it with my kids again. I actually just sat here one day and watched it, just on a whim one day when I just had an empty house, and it was fun. It was a fun little movie. It wasn't great. Again, there were some things that I wish they would have done with it. I went a little bit more Rob Zombie. I think would have been a little fun. Maybe not so much like seeing people get cut in half and body parts and blood and guts everywhere, but just a little bit of a darker tone would have been interesting. But I mean, ultimately, I can't really complain about the movie. It was a few missed notes, but other than that, it was quite watchable. It was. I didn't feel like I wasted an hour and a half sitting there and watching it. And it's fun. And again, it's Lily and Herman are these two people that we've always loved. Whenever they're on screen together, we just love seeing their existence together.
Oh, they're magic.
I compare them to another dark couple that we all long to be like, and that's Gomez and Morticia.
Oh yeah,
it's like those two couples are they're very different, but also the same. Obviously, I mean they're couples that, like, they love each other so much. They're such a great couple together that we feel good just seeing them on screen because they work out so well together. And again, I thought Sherry Moon Zombie was. I think she kind of stole the show a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of surprised you didn't like her more, Tex. I actually
I wanted to like her more.
I wasn't impressed with her performance myself.
I wanted to
liked
like her more, but I just couldn't. It was. I wanted somebody else's Lily, and as a zombie fan, I knew exactly what Sherry Moon was going to do, and it didn't work for me on this one. I still love her. She doesn't change how I feel about anything, but it just didn't hit. That was the one thing that didn't hit the mark for me.
Yeah, but anyway, obviously we care about what you guys think. Go down in the comments below.
Yes.
Let us know. What did you think of the Munsters on Netflix? Do you think it was a good movie, a bad movie? Do you think it was too campy? What do you think of the performances? I thought overall the performances were pretty good. They were pretty solid. Overall, a fun movie to watch, and I'm glad I sat and spent a couple hours watching. I thought it was pretty decent. Is a sequel in the works? I mean, you never know in Hollywood these days. I mean, they make sequels and remakes of some of the worst shit that has ever been created. So why not go? I mean, why not give the Munsters a shot? I mean, at least this movie was good. You've got something good enough to build off of. So I wouldn't be against seeing a sequel at all. But yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments. I want to thank my co-host for coming and hanging out with me a little bit to do our quick rundown of the Munsters. Lady Cora, where can the folks find you on the internet?
Well, when my dog isn't barking, I am just chilling here on your channel when we do shows, and on Sundays at Drew's.
Yeah, there you go.
And speaking of Drew, he will be live tonight gaming.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's got some makeup stuff to do for the debacle.
Oh, he was so drunk. It's not even funny. He starts in an hour.
His 3-bottle drink fest that was whatever the hell he was doing on playing Zelda the other day.
Oh, man.
But yeah, if you want to watch Drew go play Breath of the Wild, you can see. Actually, I don't think I had the link to his gaming channel.
I can do it. I can put in the chat.
Yeah, drop that in the chat.
The link to Derailed News and Podcast is in the description always. And then, of course, to our good friend, the Shake from the Lone Star State, my man Tex. What do you got going on?
Mr. Halloween, I think, should be his new nickname.
I like it. I'll take it. Hey, Halloween is a 365 thing for me, not just a 31 thing for me. But yeah, no, that's at /revision on Twitter. I don't do a lot on there, but news and articles and about it. But hey, if you want to follow me, do your thing. Off the Reels is a show that Drew and I, speaking of, from Derailed News and Podcast, where we cover older horror films. We're in the Saw series right now. We're 6 deep, and for only $1 a month, you can catch all 6 of those episodes, and they're pretty good. But, I do say so myself. Sundays, you can catch me over there with Frank and Cora as well when we yell and argue and discuss politics and play our best, Fox News episode or CNN, whatever you want to talk about. It's always a good time. But we talk fantasy football, and then, Thursdays and, Tuesdays when I'm available, I'll jump on here and talk football with Frank. So I'll be around.
Yes, there will actually be some NFL talk coming late tomorrow night, probably sometime in the 10 o'clock hour Eastern time.
Cool.
So,
nice. Talk more about how Casey's a loser. Love it.
Yeah. Casey lose again. Casey, come on. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. Anyway, as for me, you can find me here every Thursday with all my wonderful co-hosts going over all the news happening in the world of movies, television, and streaming. You can also find me on Sunday nights, most Sunday nights anyway, over on Derailed News and Podcast, talking about all the stuff going on in the world around all that, the world of current events. Again, you will find me on here tomorrow. I'm trying to do my weekly football talk thing for an hour or more every night. Tex will probably be on with me tomorrow. Maybe one or two other people. We'll see. We'll be talking about the weeks happening in football. And yeah, there's some movie reviews coming up. We've got Halloween's coming up. MK Kratos was just in the chat talking to me about that. He said he might want to pop in for the Halloween Ends spoiler breakdown that we inevitably will do. Not to mention, I mean, we're only about a month away from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever coming out. That new trailer dropped today. It answered quite a few questions. It didn't give us a lot about what the movie's plot's going to be, but it didn't have to. There was a couple of really powerful visuals in that trailer. So we'll probably be talking about that on Thursday. But yeah, so we've got the Black Panther trailer coming up here in about a month. The Black Panther spoiler review coming up here in about a month. And other than that, thank you guys for coming to hang out with us. Again, a little bit of a short video, but I wanted to give Munsters a good review because it was so divisive just on this channel for a couple of weeks of what this was going to look like. So I wanted to give it a fair shake. And in all fairness, it wasn't a terrible movie. I think you guys should go give it a try. Maybe you're going to like it more than I did. So go give it a try. Let us know what you guys think. And until next time, thanks for coming to hang out with us. We'll see you guys later. Adios.
See y'all later.